Some ideas are more valuable to you than others, and in Unit 1 that means one thing: feudalism. These MVT, or most valuable thing videos, are meant to pick that one thing that will be the most beneficial thing to know for the entire unit. Also, see what I did there with the logo there? Flipping the T and the V in MTV? These things don't make themselves. So why feudalism? Well, most of Unit 1 is kind of a global roll call. Who rules this region? How did they come to power? And how do they maintain that power? It all sets up Unit 2, where some of these regions are connected using trade routes. But it's kind of basic. Like, there's not a ton of vocab or terms that should scare you here. And then you get 1.6, and there are legit 4 vocab words you have to know for the exam. But relax. I'm going to break down what you need to know about feudalism in Unit 1, the Global Tapestry. So when you're looking at the other regions, some of them are just dominated by a few empires or kingdoms. But Europe, I mean, it's a lot, but you don't have to know the French or even the Byzantines for AP World History. I can feel your teacher just cringe with that one. Feudalism is a system that developed in the centuries following the fall of the Roman Empire. The word itself comes from a charter from one of Charlemagne's descendants known as Charles the Fat. Do you need to know that? No, but the Carolingians had some amazing names. Charlemagne's mom was Bertha the Big-Footed. Feudalism literally refers to the exchanging of goods for something other than money, and that's kind of how you should think of feudalism. Here's how it works. A lord, a wealthy landowner, granted some land to a vassal. The vassal now has the land, and in return for getting this land and the protection of the lord, the vassal must provide some service for the lord. Lord grants land to the vassal. Vassal is now in the lord's debt and must provide something to the lord. Remember the literal meaning of feudalism? Exchanging goods for something other than money. Well, a fief, the land, was exchanged for some service the vassal can provide. Now, there's a lot of dumb ceremonies and knightings and contract signings to legally cement this agreement, but that's the basic setup of feudalism. So, you're a vassal, and the lord granted you some land. Sweet. What exactly do you owe them? Mostly you owe them labor and military service. Let's say Charles the Fat granted you a fief of land. You are now his vassal. You can work that land, and most likely some of his land too, and offer him military service. Unfortunately for you, his cousin, Bernard the Hairyfoot, who was a real person, has invaded. You now have to defend Charles the Fat against Bernard the Hairyfoot. Europe was incredibly decentralized with all these feudal lords having their own army of vassals, working their lands and fighting their hairy-footed cousins all over Europe. That's the basics. Lord grants land, you owe lord loyalty, land, and military service. But there are a few other components to know before you leave Unit 1. First, manorialism. See the first part of that word? Manor, manor. Think of manorialism as the actual territory where feudalism takes place. The lord would live in a manor house, and the vassals would live in the village, working his land and waiting for hairy-footed invaders. Last thing you need to know about feudalism? Serfdom. So you have peasants that owe labor to the lord, and they live in the area around the manor house. But a new class emerged of peasants known as serfs. The word literally derives from the Latin for slave, but they're not literally chattel property like the enslaved Africans we'll see in Unit 4. But they are our first example of coerced labor. It just means forced labor of some kind. Coerced. Think of a serf as a vassal who is now tied to the land and must work for the lord. Eventually, some serfs became part of the property and weren't allowed to leave that land. They would have to go beyond military and labor obligations and work in mines and clear forests for the lord. So, the most valuable mental investment in Unit 1 for you is feudalism. If you know how it works, and a couple words like manorialism, vassals, and serfs, should be good to go. If this was helpful, hit that follow, like, subscribe, etc. And don't forget to check out my ultimate review packet, more videos, exclusives, all designed to help you get an A in your class and a 5 on the exam this May. Thanks for watching, and good luck on the exam this May.